Welcome, everybody, to another great CEO podcast. My name is Jim Schleckser. I am your host today, and I have a phenomenal CEO with me today, Pradeep Goel from Solve.Care. Welcome, Pradeep.
Thank you, Jim. It's a pleasure to be here.
I appreciate you taking the time. Why don't we start off with just tell us a little bit about your company and what you guys do.
Sure. So Solve.Care is a healthcare technology, and the notion is to build a platform like Salesforce.com for healthcare. And the objective is to solve three problems: better care coordination, better payment coordination, and better benefit administration. So three things, they're fundamental to healthcare. We're trying to make sure they work better in the US and worldwide.
It feels like just a gigantic change initiative. You're going to change how the insurance companies pay, how it just feels insurmountable to me, that agenda you've got in front of yourself. No?
It is, Jim. It is a big issue. And the thing is that there are lots of people trying to solve the parts and pieces of healthcare. But the reason we have taken on such a gigantic initiative is I've been in healthcare for 30 plus years. As a patient, as a parent of children who need care, as an insurance company executive, as someone deeply involved in public programs like Medicare and Medicaid and children health insurance, as an international health executive going around the world and listening, learning, and teaching, and as a healthcare IT exec. And I see the same patterns of failure in every part of the world. And I see the same efforts to solve these issues without diagnosing the root cause. So at some point after repeating yourself for 30 years, you're like, wait, I'm going to have to change something fundamental. And that's what Solve.Care decided to do, is to essentially build the platform that's relevant to the patient, the payer, and the provider. And essentially, it's the same strategy as we saw with Salesforce.com or with ERP systems that helped us run our businesses and our lives better. So we're doing the same thing with healthcare.
Phenomenal. And so why do people use you? Why do they choose to be with Solve.Care?
Well, each stakeholder has a different need. So from a patient perspective, it's all about access to care, control over data and identity, and choice. So in our platform, we give the patient the ability to choose from their available care options. Whether you are episodic or chronic care, your needs are episodic or chronic care, you should have choice, because if we take away choice from the patient, we deny them basic human rights. And a lot of healthcare in the US is siloed. It's all controlled by provider networks. So our goal is to give patient access to as many choices as we can within the boundaries of the law. The second stakeholder is provider, and provider is always interested in efficacy of their day. How many patients do I see? How effectively do I treat them? Avoid making mistakes, reduce my liability, get paid, and get paid on time. So from a provider perspective, the equation is different, but the platform is the same. And then from a payer perspective, which I have spent a lot of time being a payer, my needs are as a payer to manage as an administrator, be it commercial insurance, be it public insurance. My job is to make sure the right people are getting the care, they're eligible for it, that I'm paying the right amount, that there is not an overutilization. Fortunately, that's a job that nobody likes to do, and it's very hard to do. So our job as a platform is to eliminate all the friction that the payer has typically in dealing with both the patient and the provider. And our value proposition is that all three of you currently suffer in your own unique ways, and you make each other suffer in your own unique ways. And if we can normalize that relationship through much more effective a platform with some very fundamental building blocks of communication, data exchange, payment exchange, and transparency, we can start to address the underlying root cause.
Love it. Thank you. It's great. So what percentage of the revenue recurs every year? Is it contractually obliged, or is it only come when it comes? What's the revenue model look like?
So most of our revenue is recurring because we charge the customer for utilization.
Okay.
So it's only when a patient and a provider interact on our platform that we earn revenue. And same is true for when the doctor and the insurance company interact, do we earn revenue. So we get paid by the transaction. It's a small, very small penny, but it enables a lot of efficiency for the parties involved.
Got it. All
Our
right.
revenue model, sorry, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
So to finish the other part of the question was, what's our revenue? What's the, is this contractual or not? So we are a platform where our clients can innovate, and our clients can be health insurance companies, hospitals, small clinics, individual practice, can be a pharmacy network, can be a provider network, can be a community run program, a community health center, doesn't matter. If you have patients and doctors in the picture, you can use us. If you have an administrative entity in the picture, you can use us. So contractually, we try to keep it very simple. Tell people you can innovate at a very low cost and you can innovate very fast, and you only pay us if it works. And if you want to walk, you walk. So we don't like to bind our customers into long-standing contracts which they cannot get out of, because we are confident of our value.
Got it. Interesting. Very unusual in the space too. So every business has a point of constraint, sort of one thing that if I could change, it would make the business materially better, grow faster, more profitable, whatever. What's the point of constraint in this business? What's the one thing that you wish you could change about it that would make it a better business for you?
So our constraint is that we have a very big market. Because we're a horizontal play, we can play in different geographies, in different jurisdictions, and different regulatory environments. So the curse of being a horizontal platform is you can solve any problem, which means where do you focus? So for us, the fundamental issue becomes having enough capital to target all the markets where we are applicable. So we are naturally constrained by capital because we can grow 10x faster if we had 10x the capital. Now, of course, capital has to be deployed to generate value. And then the next constraint will be to ensure that we can scale the company while maintaining our values and our quality. But so far, we've done really well with that. So it's really fundamentally our scaling issue is very much a capital equation.
Got it. Yeah, I was thinking that as you described the size of the problem, like, wow, takes a lot of money to solve that problem over time. So yeah, that makes sense to me. Moving over to your behavior as a CEO for a second. So how many hours a week do you work in the business?
Well, it varies. My philosophy is that I want to be available to my team no matter what time or day. And we are globally dispersed. My team is situated in 13 or 14 countries in different time zones. So sort of like the British Empire, we are always up.
Yep.
But I try to focus more on the quality of my time. Some days I'll work very long hours. Some days I will work few hours. My key is to keep my executives fully empowered, engaged, and supported. So if they don't need me, I can spend my time on other things. That's one thing. The second is a lot of it is time zone driven, where I am, in which country I'm in. But generally, my objective is that I measure my time being spent directly related to, am I adding enough value or am I just spending time? So it's all about delegating and managing. Hours are indeed long, but again, I measure it in the context of, is every one of my direct reports have clarity and are they operating without being dependent upon something they need from me? That's from the focus.
Interesting. Well, you mentioned delegation, and that's the next question. Can you name one? Because as we grow, as leaders, we have to delegate things so we can go up and not block the company from growing. So can you name a major responsibility that you've delegated in the last 6 months?
Absolutely. I'm continuously looking to delegate more. For the company to evolve, I need to evolve my role continuously. But I also need to demonstrate first to them how to do it and then delegate it so they can do it. I have delegated a lot of operations area that I was involved in. I used to be involved in recruiting a lot more than I am. I've delegated a lot of the legal function in the company by hiring a general counsel. My operating officer has taken on a lot of things. So I can move on to being more strategic, more client-facing. Because as we grow, we are finding ourselves talking to insurance companies, TPAs, which are third-party administrators, accountable care organizations. We are talking to employers, brokers, provider practices, provider networks, IDNs, the big hospitals, pharmaceutical companies, pharmacy networks. So it's all about educating the market on how they can deploy our platform. And that's my job, more and more, and less running day to day. And it will be a lot more delegation as we move forward. Even the functions I do today, in a year, I will have to delegate them.
Perfect. And then, well, if we were to describe your leadership style, what would be the one or two or three words we'd use to describe your leadership style?
Three things. One, I must evolve personally and professionally because a company will evolve at the speed of my thought.
Mhm.
The second is that I must demonstrate what I expect from people. So you have to lead by example. You got to show them what you want from them before they can do it.
Mhm.
The third is no matter how good we are technologically, ultimately our success is defined by our values. We are going to always be, our fate is determined by our values. So
Mm.
we got to make sure that our values stay intact. And I think in many ways, Solve.Care has stuck to its core of its values through very thick and thin times. COVID, the war in Ukraine, everything had direct impact on us. But I think our values have carried us through. And that I think is a critical element as a leader that I must continue to bring.
Nice. Last question. What do you do for fun?
Spend my time with my kids when I'm in the US. They always teach me something new about myself, particularly patience and humility.
Yep.
Just tell you something that you don't want to hear about yourself. I read a lot. I find that that's the only way I can grow. I don't have time to go sit in an MBA or a executive course. So that's the packaged MBA in your hand. And I work out as often as I can, no matter where I am, because that's the only way I get the stress out of me.
Yeah. Awesome. Well, Pradeep, this was phenomenal. Really, thank you for making the time. It was a great conversation, and I wish you guys good luck. You're solving a really important and big problem. So I very much want you to be successful.
Thank you, Jim. It's a pleasure being here, and thank you for your kind words.
Absolutely.